Hey y'all, I'm Shauna. Welcome in or welcome back to the channel and welcome to another de-influencing you video. I asked y'all in my community tab what you need to be talked at from buying. What are some things that you are really eyeing or wanting, but for whatever reason, you just need to be talked out of buying it. I am going to do just that today, or I'm going to try my best to talk you out of buying this stuff. I'm hoping to do a good job today, and I want to say before we get into it, because I know I'll forget later, if you've tried any of these products, I would like to hear from you. Some of them are product specific, some of them aren't, so it's not going to apply for all of them. But if you do have some suggestions for alternatives, whether that's something that somebody could use instead, or perhaps like a lower cost alternative, I think we would all appreciate that in the comments. All right, first up on the list are advent calendars. I got quite a bit of comments about advent calendars, and they were more kind of general advent calendar kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that. And then there were some specific mentions, and we'll talk about those too. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of advent calendars. There are exceptions to this, which I will talk about, but the advent calendars with the makeup or the hair care, skincare, beauty products or socks, things like that, I don't tend to love. I have purchased some in the past. I purchased a David's Tea Advent Calendar in 2021. And then in 2019, I purchased a nail polish Advent Calendar from Ciate London. The number one issue I have with these Advent Calendars is the quantity of products. And this is relevant because I think this might apply to those who are interested in it. Like, this might give you something to think about. Advent calendars are typically 25 days. Sometimes you'll get 10, 12, or 24, but many of the times they are 25 items. That is so much. Like, to get in 25 new items all at once, it can be overwhelming. Even if you get an advent calendar that has different product categories, like you get hair care, skincare, eyeshadow palettes, what have you, it's still an acquisition of a lot of goods all at once. It's going to be really challenging to try all of those products within a narrow threshold of time, like within the 25-day period. I think many folks are going to struggle to try those products. And then also there is the addition of using those products. To try and use 25 products new at once is just a lot. And if you've been there before, I'd like to hear your experience as well, because I found it so overwhelming. And I picked an advent calendar that had the same kind of product. So it was even more so, like it was even a bigger problem, because it's like, how many times can I really put on nail polish? It just created such an influx of stuff to use. It bloated my nail polish collection. I had to now house and store all of these things. And most of us just don't have empty space to house 25 new products. There are two main reasons, in my opinion, why people really like advent calendars. The first is the value for money. You're getting a lot of stuff at a discounted price. And then also being able to try a whole bunch of stuff. People like this idea of like discovery and trying things, and advent calendars are real trying to try kind of product. When you combine these things together, I think they work in a really powerful way to entice us with novelty. Advent calendars are a super novel product because they typically only come around once a year, and like you generally can't buy advent calendars outside of this time of year. And then you have the discount and the quantity of products, which is really exciting, novel, and then getting to try so many new things, also novel, which creates an excitement. And I think that one thing we could do instead, which really plays on the novelty factor, is to create your own advent calendar. You could do this by buying or making like an empty slot. Like, stores do sell advent calendars that just like have the bones, if you will, and you can put stuff in it that's applicable, or you can make a version of this yourself and you can put your own things in there. Or if there's like food that you like or other kinds of consumables, then you can put them in there too. And I think that can be super fun. Doing this plays on the novelty while being low cost or potentially no cost. And then you're consuming all of the things that you're bringing in instead of kind of developing like a hoard or a cache of products. I do get the chocolate advent calendars. I freaking love those things. They add so much fun and novelty, which is kind of why I do them. And they kind of tamp down on my desire to like buy stuff or try other kinds of advent calendars. In the past couple of years, my partner and I have done them together. Last year, we opened our like little chocolate every morning. It's like a memory from the holiday time that I get to like think about and gets me excited. We're going to do it again this year. And so consumable advent calendars, if you are interested in an advent calendar, are the way to go, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be chocolate. There's lots of candies out there, or even like the tea one. You could make your own tea advent calendar. Or like if you have Halloween candy, like right now, the mini candies are really accessible. So you could, collect a bunch and then just keep them in like a little bag and then compile your advent calendar at a later time. Or you can do this like completely with what you have by, it could be food or using beauty products or skincare products or even like clothing items, and do your own makeshift one that way. One of the advent calendars mentioned was the Glossy Box advent calendar, which is available in the US only. It's 85 pounds. I'm looking at the products here, so you're going to see me looking at the screen. And so I was going to talk about some of the products in the Glossy Box, but I am not familiar with the majority of these products. And the reason for that could be because I'm not from the UK. But there's like a real variety here. Like there's a hydration serum, mini shampoo, and conditioner in here. There's a cleanser, there's a blush in a light pink color, mascara, a collagen eye formula, a sleeping mask, an eye mask, a facial mist. Like the eyeshadow palette's probably the biggest thing in here, unless you like warm tone shadows. You don't even need this. And also, it's a really big palette. There's 20 eyeshadows in here. There's a gradual tanner in here, which might not suit you based on your skin tone. Do you need a silver highlighter? And also the blush looks cute, but might not suit your skin tone. So like, this is just a lot of money for a lot of product that you may or may not like. Another popular product is the Yes Style Advent Calendar. I think this is one that kind of gets its way into influencers from Yes Style. And so I think we're about to hear or see it. This is one that's over $200. I was super shocked to learn the price. It's over $200 and there are no photos of anything from that box. Like there is no information about what's actually going to be in that box. So you are basically paying $200 for a mystery box. And it's really about the surprise than the product. And so you're paying for an experience in a way and to hopefully get something good. Like with the Glossy Box stuff, you at the very least can look at this stuff and be like, you know what, I like all of it or some of it. And you can, think about it and make choices that are at least in some way informed. The Yes Style one is not informed at all. You cannot make an informed choice on an advent calendar that you know nothing about. So with that one, I really feel like that one is more an example of the pleasure and excitement of unboxing mysteries and not about anything. It's not about the stuff, which is kind of what I was talking about in the novelty component earlier in this section. I've also been asked to speak about mini kits, or like, all of the value sets that get released at the holiday time at Sephora. Not necessarily the Sephora brand stuff, but just the value sets. I got a lot of requests about those, and I'm going to do a whole video on value sets. It's on the calendar for late October, early November. So hold tight for that, and I'll talk about specific sets. Next up are workout clothes. And there were quite a bit of references for workout clothes, and for different reasons. Some people wanted to buy more so they would launder them less. Other people are kind of wanting things for fashion purposes or because they feel like the fashions are changing. And I also saw some from people who are, working out a little bit more. So having more things would make sense to them, or that's kind of what they're thinking. Now, it's really hard for me to say that, like, you in specific don't need workout clothes, because how many clothes you have, what kind of clothes they are, and how often you work out is really going to determine what would be enough. So that's important to think about. And I don't know yours specifically, so just bear that in mind as we go through. One of the potentials for the desired workout clothes can come from this raising of the threshold. Here's how I personally think about my own formula for how many workout clothes are largely enough for me specifically. And I think this can work in a lot of cases. How many days do you usually work out a week? Let's say you work out typically 4 times. I like to do the usual +1, so 5, which means that I would have to have 5 workout outfits for whatever kind of season that we're in available to be like a safe zone. If you do your laundry multiple times a week, let's say twice, you're never really going to go more than 4 days without doing your laundry. So how many times do you work out in a 4-day period? Probably 2 or 3, it could be 4. How many times do you work out before your laundry day? And then adding the 1 adds the buffer. So I typically do my laundry on Saturday. Occasionally it gets pushed to Sunday. It almost never gets pushed beyond that. If for whatever reason it gets pushed to Sunday, that will typically mean 1 extra workout piece. So if I have 5 items, I am safe. I'm not saying that you in specific need 5 items. I'm saying this can be a helpful formula to like potentially help you figure out what might be your sweet spot number. And if you have enough things to wear for that many days, then you're probably good. I keep this in mind when I want to buy new things, because anything else becomes excess and it just like bloats things, and then you like are owning stuff that you don't wear, and depending on how utilitarian you are about your workout items, it could potentially bother you to like regularly not wear something, or have like your workout drawer be bloated with stuff that like maybe you can't close your drawer because you have too many things, or you're just regularly passing over it and it bothers you. Those things can be at play. And so if I'm ever tempted to buy new tops or leggings or whatever, then I'm like, no, you have 4 leggings. You're totally fine. If you are concerned about this, one thing you can also do is rearrange your storage to make it so your storage only holds enough things for this formula. So let's say for you, 5 outfits is like what you need. Having your workout storage, however you store it, only hold that amount of stuff. So let's say right now you have 1 drawer and it's kind of maybe like half filled or 3/4 filled. That can give you the impression that there's room for more, and it can make you feel okay with buying more than you actually need, or more than would be useful, or more than you want to spend. So if you condense that, and let's say you put maybe some pajamas or something on the maybe like a little side thing, then your workout space is filled and it doesn't give you room to fill it up. Quite often, it's our storage that dictates like what is enough. And so if there's more room, it can make us feel okay buying more stuff, even if we don't want it or need it. If you own more than you actually need, what might be a helpful little experiment is the following. So let's say you actually need 6 outfits. So we'll just take the leggings as an example. You need 6 leggings, but you actually own 9. What you can do is put away 2 leggings for, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, put them in a place that's not accessible to you, and live your life with it's technically 7. So you still have 1 extra. In many cases, you can make that work, but in some cases you might not be able to, and then you might actually realize a utilitarian function for the extra ones, which is still knowledge, which is great. But in many cases, if you do own more than you actually need, what you will notice is that you'll be able to work fine with that little bit less. I'm not saying if you need 5, have 3. Feel free to try it if you feel so inclined, but that's not really what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting removing things beyond what you've established as like the baseline or like your weekly requirement, because what could have happened is this raising of the baseline, like I've already talked about. And so you own a little bit more than you need and you're feeling like you need more. So if you bring your baseline down and you get used to that reduced baseline, when you bring back in those extra pieces, not only can those things feel new and exciting because you haven't seen them for a while, but you can feel like you have more than you actually need, and that can reduce some of this desire to go shopping. One thing I've also noticed that can make you feel like you don't have enough is if your things don't match well. I recently encountered this problem. I have a green, like a beige, and then black leggings, and I also have a pink one. And then I got 2 new like workout, like not sweater, but workout like zip tops. My partner's sister was decluttering them and I grabbed a hold of them real quick. I own the same ones, but in black, and I really like them. And one was in purple. It's like my favorite color. So I'm like, yes. So I got it. And I realized that there was a purple and an orange. I realized that the purple and the orange can only be worn with the beige pants or the black pants. However, I need the black pants for ballet. So those can't be worn except for when I'm at ballet, which means that both of those tops can only be worn with one of the remaining 3 pants. I also have a green sweater that can only be worn with the black and the beige leggings. It's too much green with the green, and the green doesn't go with the purple. The 2 purples that I have don't match. So I have 3 shirts that can only be worn with 2 pants. And one of the pants is not actually eligible to wear right now because it needs to be worn to ballet with a black top, which I already have. If your colors don't go together or the stuff that you have don't go together, you might have a plethora of tops or maybe a plethora of bottoms that just aren't getting the wears that you would want because the coordination is kind of off. So buying one thing might just like open up a whole realm of possibility, and that can totally be fine. And so if you are going to buy new clothes and you are interested in buying secondhand, one of the things I like to do, and this is if a brand is like available to go to like physically, and you also want to get it secondhand. I'll go to the store. Let's take Lululemon as an example. I'll go to the store and I'll try on the product in question. Like, I don't know what size I am at Lululemon, and let's say I want Lululemon leggings. I would go in store, I would find the product that I would want, find my size, take a picture of it, or, so I don't forget if it happens to be like a month from now and I'm able to find the item I want secondhand. I don't forget, oh wait, what size am I? What was the title of that? What was the length of that? You take a picture of the tag or tags, perhaps where it's being stored, depending on the information, and then you can use that to buy the item secondhand. There are certain stores or items that are better than this than others because brands carry the same thing for years. Lululemon Align pants or like their tights are just like one example of that. So this is just one example of something that you could do that may be helpful to find a secondhand item. Next up is a Dyson Airwrap, and the person who sent this in said that they're tempted to buy every holiday season, which just makes sense to me because I typically see Dyson Airwraps going on sale around the holiday time, like Black Friday, November, December kind of time. And so we are creeping up to that time. And if this is something like you are certainly like, yes, I want this, the holiday time is probably the best time, to get the best discount. I did look this up in preparation for this video, and I was shocked. This is 800 Canadian dollars. This is no judgment on the person who sent this in. This is a judgment on Dyson Airwrap. $800? I'm still like shocked by this. It's $600 USD. People say that, Dyson has sales. I don't see this going down more than $200, $300 if you're really lucky to make this $500, dollars, which is still so much money. I know this is a bit of a personal take, but I think you need to think about your own threshold for spending money. What I mean by that is even if $800 was just like a drop in the bucket and I just had like $800 to burn, I'm the kind of person that would never feel like the Dyson would be worth my money just because of how like hair tools and hair products, how they like just how I think about them conceptually. I'm just that kind of person where I will never be satisfied and I will never be like, yeah, that was worth $800. So I would be setting myself up for disappointment if I ever bought myself that kind of product. Let's talk about the product in specific. I have heard from folks who have said that there is a big learning curve for using these kinds of products, and a learning curve that might surprise you. I have seen some poor reviews for like the Dyson and other kind of similar products because people felt like it didn't hold a curl, or that the product didn't work. There is a chance that these just like don't work as well as like a traditional curling iron, like the curling iron attachments, because of the really high heat that can come with those other devices. I don't own them or know all about the technology, so I think that's worth saying. But I do think some of this, at least to some extent, comes from just the learning curve that just comes with these products. And I've heard from people who've talked about how they can take a couple of weeks to get used to. And then some of the poor reviews can just come from like somebody, trying it 2 or 3 times and then feeling like it's not working for them, which I think is very valid. Like, I personally don't think that I should have to spend more than 2 or 3 times on a styling tool in order for it to work effectively. And so I think for some people, it just might be too much of a threshold or too much of a learning curve, which could depend on the person and or the specific attachments. I'm thinking particularly the curling attachments. One of the ways that the Dyson gets pitched is this alternative or this replacement to traditional styling tools. So it can replace the blow dryer, the blow dry brush. It can replace the curling wands and the straighteners. And I think that can be true, but when I've seen people review this, what I've noticed is people keep both sets of tools, and it becomes something that you purchase in addition to the stuff that you already have instead of a replacement. That's not to say that you couldn't buy a Dyson to replace all of this stuff. I think it's just important to think about the intentions in which you are buying the Dyson and what you actually want to use it for. Somebody who I watched a review from who travels said that they don't bring the Dyson traveling, and they bring their typical tools, and they don't like traveling with the Dyson because of whatever its composition. That could be a personal thing on them. But this is just one example to illustrate that depending on your needs and like what you're bringing to the potential purchase, it might not be this replacement that you are thinking it will be. This is something to consider. What is drawing you to the Dyson? Is it the space-saving aspect of owning one item and like only having to store one item with the different heads? Or is it like the technology aspect that you think it's cool and something in addition to have to what you are already using? Do you want to legitimately replace your styling tools? If you're somebody who wants to legitimately replace all of your styling tools, I would consider whether you would actually do this if you had the Dyson in hand, number one. Number two, would you want to wait out the lifespan of your products? What would you do with all of the devices that you have? Would you keep them on hand? Would you give them to somebody? And are you the kind of person who would actually part with your original styling tools? I can see some folks saying yes out there and some folks saying no. And if you are looking in the replacement kind of category, are your tools ready to be replaced? I was looking at the Shark tools and I thought about buying them. But I decided that whenever my blow dry brush goes, that's when I'll buy the Shark tool. It's not there yet. It might in a year or 3 years, who knows? But until that time, what I have works perfectly fine. You might be somebody who's in a similar position or in a position where the tools you have are on your last legs and it would make some kind of sense. And so I think in some cases that the excitement over the technology or like the idea of getting a Dyson can tempt us into like wanting it all together, or this like perception of the upgrade, you are upgrading your tools. when in fact what you have is perfectly fine, and what is tempting you is the upgrade. So a question that I'm asking, which is not rhetorical and it's not one I'm expecting a specific kind of answer on, it is, what is not good enough about what you already have? Is there a problem or something that would make sense to get rid of? If your tools are working fine, what may be at play, and I say may, is this perception of what you believe the Dyson could do for you. It can make you feel like you'll have better hair if you use the Dyson, or maybe you'll use the tool more if you have a cooler, more technologically advanced tool, or if you just have a better tool, then you'll have better hair, you'll have more inclination to use the item. And a little bit of romanticizing the Dyson and or your life with the Dyson could potentially be at play. That's not something that the poster actually said. I just think it's something to consider. There are other tools on the market that I think are worth considering. And I also think in this circumstance, budget has to be king. Like, so many of these tools or so many of these reviewers aren't talking about the key place in which a budget should take when making these kinds of decisions. $400, $600, or $800 are a lot of money that must factor into our buying choices. How much so is going to depend on the person. So if $800 is too much money for you, the Shark stylers are half the price. Their competing tool is like $350 on sale right now for $250 compared to the $600 or $800. Some people will say that they don't feel like they're as good as $800, but saving $500 could be worth something being 20% worse. You're still getting 80% of the benefits. You're still getting that cool like air wrap technology, but at a savings of $500. Now, if you were just kind of casually thinking about these tools, or you think that they're going to have benefits and it wasn't serious and you buy something that you ordinarily wouldn't, that's not a savings. But if you were actually going to buy the Dyson and decided to go for the air wrap, that would be a savings. Lastly, before you buy any of these things, I would highly encourage you to watch reviews on the product that you would like to get with somebody with your hair type, texture, or length. I see a lot of these videos being done with people who have hair like mine. I have very fine, largely straight hair, a little bit of wave, but not much. If you do not have long, fine hair, my review of an air wrap, if I were to make one, would be useless to you. I also see a lot of these on long hair, as I was mentioning. If you have short hair, you might not like the way that this looks on you. So I just encourage you to watch the reviews before it comes out. And we are far enough away from, the Black Friday season where you could, put away money each week to save up for one of these products. Next up is a travel jewelry organizer. And I do actually own one. I'll put a photo of mine in the screen or video insert. I got this, I think it was in a CosBox in 2020. And if I didn't get it in a CosBox, I don't think I ever would have bought it. And if I were to lose mine now, I don't think I would repurchase it. These are positioned by a lot of people as like super practical and useful for people who travel. And in my opinion, unless you travel regularly and you also travel for longer periods of time, I would say for more than 3 to 4 days, these aren't that necessary. Majority of the trips that I take are under 3 days. And if I am going to bring jewelry, it's just going to be like a bracelet and like a pair of earrings and like one necklace, maybe 2 necklaces, which I can put on and wear to my destination. And once I get there, can take them off and, put them back on when I need them again. They're not really worth it if you don't wear a lot of jewelry or like plan to bring multiple sets of jewelry. Even if you are going away for 7 days, you still could bring like one necklace and one pair of earrings and not change much. So it's not inherently longer trips require more jewelry, but I think for those who do like jewelry, they're more likely to bring more on longer trips. These are also really bulky and they take up precious room in your suitcase. Most specifically, if you are like traveling on an airplane or like you're checking your bag, that kind of thing, where you need to make sure you are conserving your space. I just find that mine is so bulky that on times when I am actually spending longer trips, I don't want to bring it because it's so bulky. So some alternatives for this is you could use like small containers in your home, like those little square ones that are like this big. You can use those. You could also use those medicine holders, the one with like the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or the pill organizers. And you could put like rings or bracelets in each one. That totally works as well. Or necklaces too, earrings. I think a lot of stuff would fit into those things. You could also, for necklaces, you could put your necklaces in like tubes of toilet paper. Like you clip one around it. Best for longer necklaces, not great for earrings or bracelets, but that's an option. If you have other storage solutions for jewelry for traveling, I would love to hear from you. I also had somebody mention a hair massager, and I also own one of these. I bought these in 2021, and I really thought that I would use it more than I actually do. And this is a case of I have it, so I'll use it. But if I lost mine now, I don't think that I would repurchase it. How often you use it and how applicable it could be to you would probably depend on your scalp and your hair type. So my own experience, just, it only goes so far. Mine wasn't that expensive. It was about $8 from Sephora. But this thing is super bulky. Like, it's really chunky, and I store it in my shower, and it just is super awkward because it takes up a lot of space, and it annoys me with how chunky it is. So I think it's worth asking yourself, what about this product is enticing you? Is it because you want a more luxurious shower experience? Is it because you want to lather your product differently or better? Is it because you have an itchy scalp and you want to kind of scratch it with this tool? What is your reason, or something else entirely? I kind of thought it would be, for me personally anyways, that it would be the more luxurious experience, kind of more like the massaging aspect of it, as well as like being a nice head scratcher. My own take is that if you want to buy this because you think it's going to offer a more like massaging experience, of all the reasons, I think this is the one that you'll fall off with. I think if there's like a bit of maybe like a romanticization happening, if this is the reason, where like you think you'll have a more luxurious and massaging experience, and so that is enticing you, this like idea of what your shower could be like, which is enticing you to buy it. And so if you wait a little bit, you might or this idea might fall off a little bit, and then you might forget about the product potentially. And so I did use it very regularly for a while because that was me. And now I only really use it for like an itchy scalp, to be honest. I actually had a super itchy scalp yesterday and washed my hair and was like very vigorously going at it because of that. And it was great. I only really use it every few weeks. If I didn't have it, I would just use my fingers. And I think a lot of what you might want can just be done with your hands. Now, if you are somebody who uses these for any other reasons than the ones I've mentioned, I would love to hear from you. Or if you have like any alternatives, or let's say you have an itchy scalp, are there anything or other things that you do to help with that? Next up are fall sweaters, and I had a couple of comments on this. The one I'm going to address more primarily is the one that I'm going to focus on is from the person who said that they like sweaters, they have a lot, and they're also really interested in sweaters with the fall colors. So what I'm hearing from this comment is that you really love fall, and one of the ways you express or experience enjoyment for fall is through the autumnal colors. And relatedly, by buying clothes or buying items that give you autumnal vibes. In my opinion, what could be happening here is like a forest for the trees kind of situation, where you love autumn so much that like you're looking elsewhere for all of the autumnal beauty that you could be missing all of the beautiful pieces in your clothes already, or just the like looking elsewhere gets you excited about all the other things that you're seeing, and you're focused on the excitement that you're experiencing or seeing instead of focusing on the excitement that you could be having in your own wardrobe. If you do already have a lot of autumnal pieces, I think this could be the perfect opportunity to do a little wardrobe playtime. Y'all, if you're experiencing like any kind of wardrobe boredom, or like you're really caught up in looking at other things, I think wardrobe playtime just does, in a lot of cases, it just does just a lot of good. So your wardrobe playtime session could just be focusing on creating outfits that give you autumnal vibes. That's the focus. Autumnal vibes. And because you are loving sweaters, your focus could be on the sweaters, but maybe you have other things that you're not totally seeing because you're so focused on the sweaters that you might not be seeing where you could get autumnal vibes elsewhere. Like maybe you have a really awesome brown pair of pants or a cool pair of shoes that can give you those vibes. Textures can really do this too. And sometimes it's the colors. Colors for sure give you autumnal vibes, but sometimes bringing out those autumnal fabrics, maybe heavier weight knits or like specific textures of knits, suede, velvet, denim, as well as leather or corduroy even. It might not be in a perfect autumnal hue, but sometimes the textures can really give you an autumnal vibe. Also, if you're somebody who enjoys fall media, like consuming fall media is part of your routine, your autumn vibes, one thing you can do is you can look for inspiration in whatever media you're looking at. Like maybe you're a Friends fan and you want to recreate or get inspiration from Rachel Green's wardrobe. Like you want to recreate some outfits or create your own Friends inspired outfits. While they might not be specifically autumnally colored, that vibe of something that reminds you of autumn could give you the vibe, if that makes sense. The novelty could also be a lot of fun. And one thing that I did a couple years ago, I think it's 2 years ago now, I might have deleted the footage, but I did this with Midnights. With the Midnights album release from Taylor Swift, I was just getting so much autumnal vibes, and I recreated a ton of outfits that gave me different vibes from different songs. And the whole thing was like autumn in the 70s themed. That's just kind of what kind of came out, and it was super fun. And I still wear some of those outfits to this day. And those are some things you could do. And as well as just like considering other ways to romanticize and express your love of autumn that perhaps aren't clothes. I mean, maybe you have like accessories or like beauty products or hair products or like, scarves, makeup, lipstick that give you autumn vibes. My lipstick is doing that for me today. Nail polish, things like that you could lean on as well. I think the perfect thing to end on today is Halloween. Y'all have been very incessant in your requests for Halloween stuff because I think it's a little bit hard, just for me personally, to create like de-influencing videos or like speak on Halloween generally that isn't like more of the same. Okay, maybe I have to just do a poll on this. In my opinion, I've recently talked about fall in my like fall restocks or a lot video. I spent like 20 minutes talking about fall, how influencers can use fall themes to infuse regular content with, or just kind of talking about how, fall is used to sell people stuff. All of that is applicable to Halloween too. And I just kind of felt like I would be a broken record if I just then went on to make a Halloween video kind of saying more of the same. And I'm also not so much a Halloween girly where like I know exactly how people are going to use things, or maybe I need to say it now. Maybe some of y'all need to hear. Do you need the Halloween eyeshadow palette? Do you need the Halloween earrings? Or the Halloween necklace? Or the Halloween lipstick? Do you need it? Do you need it? Do you have something you could use already? Let me know in the comments. I personally think that Halloween has become bigger and more consumer centric in the past 5 years than ever before. Like when I think about 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, there weren't a ton of beauty brands releasing Halloween collections. There were some out there, but they were somewhat hard to find, or you might get like one or two. There are now like an increasing amount of beauty brands coming out with beauty Halloween releases. But there are also so many stores that are doing their own Halloween decor for inside the house. TJ Maxx is like a big place for this. Halloween candles and bath bombs and hand soaps, and mainstream brands too. Halloween pajamas, Halloween socks, Halloween hats. It just kind of feels like there's a never ending release of Halloween stuff, which I just feel like is an increase from 5 to 10 years ago. And so I think that Halloween has really come to be its own like time of year as separate from fall. And this might have truly been how some people have like looked at Halloween. But I think that because companies can make more money off of Halloween, or they're realizing that there is like almost an untapped market in Halloween, or there's room for more, there's more releases and there's more opportunities to buy things. And Halloween is being increasingly treated as distinct from fall. I think like one example is Bath and Body Works. I know they've been doing Halloween collections for years, and people go crazy for the Halloween stuff because, in part, there weren't previously a lot of companies doing releases, so people would kind of get the Halloween stuff where they can find it. So I think with this increasing prevalence, you're seeing it more in the stores. There are more things tempting you. There are more options than ever before. So there are more things to buy. There are more things to want, and there are more things to look at. There are just more options. And as more and more options rise, I think there is that increasing separation from fall to treat Halloween like its own distinct time of year as a way to sell people more things. So you can get people buying the fall things and then get people buying the Halloween things. Part of this reason that can tempt us is this like making the most of the season, right? You want to make the most of Halloween, or you feel like it is separate from fall. And so you want to buy all of the stuff and make the most of the season with the decor. And I think what could maybe like be a caveat to that is to romanticize what you already have instead of romanticizing what is like what you don't have or what is out there. How can you make what you already have more interesting and exciting? My Halloween girl is out there. I need your help with this big time. How would you, like, what would you say to somebody who really wanted to buy more Halloween stuff? How would you de-influence them? Because I don't know that I'm the best person for the job for this. So I am recruiting all of you, all nearly 40,000 of you, to like pop up in the comments on this nicely, please. How would you de-influence somebody who wants to buy Halloween stuff? Yeah, we can say, oh, use what you have or focus on what you have. But I think part of the key, at least in my opinion, is like how to express or how to make what you have more fun and exciting and novel. And then also like, I want to say like remove the things that are causing the temptation. I talk about those strategies all the time, and I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments, please. So that's it for me today. That's everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you things to think about before buying this stuff, perhaps strategies to try. And I would really, truly love to hear from you if you have other ideas for any of these products, because some of the magic of this video comes from your ideas too and what you have to say in the comments. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again around here soon.